President Bola Tinubu on Friday arrived in Kano State to commiserate with the family of the late elder statesman and philanthropist Alhaji Aminu Dantata. Tinubu's presidential aircraft touched down at the Aminu Kano International Airport around 3:30 p.m., where it was received by the Kano State Governor Abba Yusuf, Deputy Senate President Barau Jibrin, and other top government officials. During his visit, Tinubu paid a condolence visit to the Dantata family and extended sympathies to the people and government of Kano over the death of the nonagenarian businessman.
Our sisters and brothers, this is a personal commitment for me that I should be here to condole with you as the Dantata family members and the entire state of Kano. All our honorable members, I want to thank you for showing up gracefully and honorably. I know what you did for him, but here is a man of immense personality, honesty, integrity, and philanthropy, commitment to humanity in every aspect of the way. If they do friendship and they do contact over and beyond in the other world, Alhaji Dantata will be in the marketplace distributing food to the hungry and giving the sick the happiness and the need that they want. It's so generous, so good, so committed to great value of our country.
The 2025 National Constitutional Summit has concluded in Abuja with 18 key resolutions aimed at replacing the 1999 Constitution with a truly people-driven alternative convened by the Patriots, a coalition of elder statesmen and national icons. The three-day summit kicked off on Wednesday, July 16, after a one-day shift in honor of late former President Muhammadu Buhari and the Awujale of Ijebuland, Oba Sikiru Adetono. Though the event saw moments of tensions and disagreements, particularly over issues such as system of government and geopolitical restructuring, organizers say those concerns have been resolved through consensus and broad consultation across Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones. Among the resolutions are calls for the establishment of a constituent assembly, return to genuine federalism, state police, and a referendum on draft institution. Now we tell you that the National Executive Council of the Labour Party says it has ratified the Interim National Working Committee of the party at its meeting, which was held in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. The party reaffirmed the leadership of Senator Nenadi Usman as Interim National Chairman and Senator Darlington Mokocha as Interim National Secretary. The National Executive Council also approved a schedule for ward, local government, state, zonal congresses, and a national convention. On upcoming elections, the NEC reaffirmed the Labour Party's commitment to fielding credible candidates in the Anambra governorship race and others scheduled by elections. In the meantime, the Lagos State chapter of the Labour Party has expressed its concern regarding the irregularities that happened during the just concluded local government election in the state. The state chairman of the party, Dayo Ikong, made this known at the party secretariat, where she accused both the Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission, LASIEC, and the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, of nefarious activities that affected the overall electoral process. She, however, reaffirmed and revealed that plans are underway in taking the matter to court.
The deliberate use of pencil for result sheets under the flimsy guise of reducing error was nothing short of an open invitation to alter results. And I say it that it is a tactic straight from the fraudster's handbook. If the election had been free and fair, because the sympathy of the people lies with Labour Party, that happens to be the People's Party, we would have won the election. But we all saw it. For the media people that went round during the June 12 election, there was very low turnout of voters. And the ones that even wanted to come out, just like I said, were intimidated and warned not to be there. Some were beaten.
Away from that to judicial matters, the federal government on Friday told the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja to reject the no-case submission filed by Biafra national agitator Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, saying his threat to break up Nigeria and establish the Republic of Biafra should not be considered an empty boast. The government said Kanu's actions had led to the death of scores of security agents and Nigerians. Counsel to federal government Adedboyega Awomolo, senior advocate of Nigeria, argued specifically that the Biafran leader's many broadcasts caused Nigerians great pain. However, Kanu, through his lead counsel, Kanu Agabi, SAN, had faulted the prosecution of his client. Among others, Agabi said that throughout the proceedings, no single witness was called to the court to tell how he was incited by Kanu to resort to violence. The senior lawyer drew the attention of the court to the fact that charges against Kanu were amended 8 times, yet no one came to testify as he was instigated to violence. Now, in Plateau State, Governor Kele Mufwang says everything possible will be done to ensure the bad eggs among the security operatives in the state are fished out. Governor Mufwang was speaking when he made an emergency visit to the affected communities in Riyom local government area of the state after Tuesday's attack that left 27 people killed, including women and children. News Central's Chizoba Anyonwe tells us more.
In the wake of the Tuesday morning attack, these community members were out in their numbers, carrying placards with different inscriptions expressing sorrow and insecurity. They gave account of what had transpired during the attacks as the governor demanded.
Unfortunately enough, in the morning of yesterday, Colonel himself addressed us and we asked him questions. Why does that happen? Don't you protect us? And he told us that they empower them. So they lay an ambush and they cannot access. They don't have access to this very community.
The soldiers have been compromising, and I don't know the reason. And that is why you can hear people are calling that we need police, we need police.
These assertions under investigation probably gave rise to the relocation of these locals for fear of the unknown. Efforts to speak with the security agencies in the state were unsuccessful, but among the early callers after the incident were the commander of Operation Safe Haven, Major General Folusho Oyinlola, and the State Commissioner of Police, Emmanuel Adeshina, and other security chiefs in the state to ascertain details of the incident. Unsatisfied with the case of alleged complicity by some security personnel, the governor, during his visit to the affected communities of Jebu, Bachi, and Gwawareng, said he will ensure justice is done.
There are gallant soldiers that have stood in defense of the land, and we thank them. But certainly there are bad eggs. And we are going to take appropriate steps to make sure that these bad eggs are fished out. We cannot continue like this, and people who are not ghosts or spirits attack communities and disappear into thin air.
as the governor continues on this security tour of the affected communities within Riom local government area of Plateau State, he has reassured the community members and the victims of these attacks that everything possible will be done to reinforce security in these areas. In Plateau State, for News Central, Chizoba Anyowe.
Now, retired Brigadier General John Temlong joins us from Jos in Plateau State to discuss this. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on the news. Can you please unmute your device, please? Can you hear me now? I'd like you to say something.
I'm hearing you. I said thank you very much for having.
Oh, okay. So if there's any device around your area that you need to mute to kill the feedback, please kindly ensure that you do that. But in the meantime, the governor said that bad eggs are among the security operatives. How would you react to this, looking at the killings that have happened in the state? General Temlong, we'll try to track back with you and correct the audio issue at your end. But in the meantime, the Minister of Works, David Umahi, has expressed worry over the flagrant disobedience to design and traffic codes put in place to protect bridges across the country. The minister made this known as he received updates on the incident at the Kefi Bridge in Nasarawa State, which was partially damaged by an excavator, destroying part of its beams and putting commenters on the bridge in danger. And the Central's correspondent, Joshua Imarai, reports.
The meeting was called by the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, to discuss ways of protecting bridges in the country following the incident that occurred at the Kefi Bridge in Nasarawa State, which has left part of the structure damaged. The Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Olumfusho Adebiyi, gave details of the event that transpired.
Abuja Band, crossing the interchange at the Abuja Band of this bridge in Kefi, Abuja Road. It was at this, the interchange is interchange 42, but amazingly, the headroom was totally exhausted. The excavator they were carrying cut through the bridge and head on to the beam, thereby totally dislocating and weakening the entire structure, broke the slab, and went ahead to bring down a section of the beam. It has totally distorted and affected the structural integrity of the entire structure there.
While Adebiyi says that this is becoming a recurring trend among heavy-duty vehicle operators, Umahi expressed worry at the continuous disobedience to traffic codes put in place to protect bridges.
We recall that this is not the first time this will happen in Nigerian history. It has become a recurring decimal. Number one, the payloader, the excavator being carried, is too heavy for our pavement design. The load bed itself, carrying it, is another load. And it has not only affected the pavement, but also the entire bridge.
The design code manual specifies 5.6 meters headroom. But, you know, people are violating it because while that is being done in all these bridges, except the Edo Bridge, you find out that people go and they use high bed, you know, instead of low bed to load some of this equipment.
He also expressed worry at the state of the Third Mainland Bridge in Lagos, saying that sand miners and dredgers around the bridge continue to put its structure in danger.
For Third Mainland Bridge, we can't build another one. We have to do everything possible to see how we can amend it. But illegal mining of sand and no maintenance of the bridge over the years. Don't forget that bridges are built for a lifespan of 50 years. But this one has stayed for 3 years without, you know, maintenance.
The minister, while ordering an immediate evaluation and repair of the Kefi Bridge, assured that the ministry has come up with a technical way to maintain bridges in the country. He also ordered the implementation of protective measures to avoid a repeat of the Kefi incident. In Abuja, for the Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
But I'll go on our break. When we return, we'll bring you more stories on the news. To stay with us. Earlier on the news, we told you that the 2025 National Constitution Summit was concluded in Abuja with 18 key resolutions aimed at replacing the 1999 Constitution with a truly people-driven alternative. And to help us understand what these resolutions are and what they can do in terms of a constitutional amendment in Nigeria, I'm being joined by Wale Okuni, who is the Secretary General of the Patriots. Mr. Okuni, thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Thank you.
I'd like you to help us understand the key resolutions at the summits and how that would help bring about a better constitution for the people.
Thank you. The key resolution of the peoples of Nigeria and stakeholders gathered at the National Constitutional Conference is that one, the Nigerian 1999 Constitution is heavily flawed, warped and faulty, and cannot enable the progress of the Nigerian people. As a matter of fact, it will lead to one insecurity and the other. And that is what we are witnessing in Nigeria. And to this effect, that immediately the summit requested the federal government, under the leadership of the president, to immediately convene or constitute a national constitutional assembly to enable the Nigerian peoples give unto themselves a constitution that they can call of their own. They can call that of their own. And such constitution will come from peoples elected to the Constituent Assembly, representative of the various constituencies in the country. So that for the first time in a long time, Nigerians can have a constitution that they can be proud to say they have given unto themselves. A truly democratic people's constitution, which can enamel and inspire patriotism, and which can also enable unity, cohesion, and stability, and which can take away the gargantuan insecurity that we are witnessing in Nigeria. That is the resolve, or was the resolve, of the National Constitutional Conference that is moving onto the implementation stage at this point.
So how would you now describe the stakeholders and participants at the summit in terms of their recommendations and the change it can bring?
How would I describe
the recommendations and the resolutions tabled for a new constitution?
Yeah, well, that resolution is in congruence with the feeling and aspiration of all Nigerians. It's been long. If you recall that sometimes back in 2004, Chief Tony Enamuro of blessed memory, working in partnership with Chief Professor Wole Soyinka, led a people's conference, which was called Pronaco Conference. And the same thing was the agitation for a people's constitution, a democratic constitution, a legitimate constitution, not a constitution imposed through decree of the military. That can never be called a constitution, but a decree. And so the preamble of the 1999 Constitution itself tells a lie about the document. And if the foundation from which you build any edifice is faulty, what can the righteous do? And that is what we are witnessing, all kind of corruption, because that by itself is corruption. And you cannot build sanity, you cannot build decency, you cannot build accountability on corruption. And that is what spiritually, it is not done anywhere. That you have a foundation. What constitutes the present constitutional democracy of Nigeria is a lie unto itself. And therefore we must do something, I can say spiritually, about this. calling the people together. Because some people have said that the current Nigerian democracy is designed to fail by the military so that they can come back. But it has become so impossible for them to come back, because that was the design. That is the assertion of certain people.
Okay.
And they found out, it was because they found out that the foundation upon which democracy was built in Nigeria is faulty, that is the Constitution. So we need, first and foremost, if we want to achieve anything with Nigeria, we want to achieve progress, if we want to achieve stability and secure this country, we the people genuinely need to come back and democratically give unto ourselves a constitution. So therefore, I say that the resolution that the summit came up with is the way for is what will save this country from imminent collapse. And I think the federal government, particularly the current president, we look at it.
Now, Mr. Okuni,
can save Nigeria from an imminent collapse.
Yeah, Mr. Okuni, so even as we wrap up on this, we know that it's been a robust conversation at the summit, but then why did issues around the system of governments and geopolitical restructuring cause rancor during the course of the deliberation?
Pardon?
Yes, we understand that there was a tense session during discussion and issues around geopolitical restructuring and, of course, the system of government caused a bit of discord while people were deliberating. I'd like to find out why that was an issue or why those issues came up.
No, there was no such, there was just a semantic question. It's not as if people felt that tactically what the conference needs to do is not to go into detail of what will be discussed at the Constituent Assembly, what is capable of dividing the country ahead of that Constituent Assembly, that the Constituent Assembly will be given the prerogative to decide, to discuss and decide the finalities. It's not for us as delegates that will be recommending a Constituent Assembly to begin to decide for the Constituent Assembly. So some people felt that was wrong in terms of strategy, that all debates should be kept at bay until the Constituent Assembly. So that was what some people saw as, yeah, there will be disagreement, we disagree to agree. And eventually we agreed at that level that we should first proceed to the Constituent Assembly to discuss more contentious issues and resolve at that level, then give up to Nigeria a new democratic constitution. All
right, thank you so much, Mr. Wale Okuni, for that clarification. We appreciate your contribution. It was nice talking to you.
It's nice talking to you too. Thank you.
And I'll take you back to Plateau State, where Governor Caleb Mutfwang says everything possible will be done to ensure the banned eggs among the security operatives in the state are fished out. And we've been able to establish communication with retired General John Temlong, who is in Jos Plateau State, to give his perspective to this. Thank you so much, General Temlong, even as we look at the incessant attacks in Plateau State. Now, earlier on, I said the governor talked about bad eggs within the security apparatus in the states, and I'm wondering how you would react to that, looking at the killings that have gone on right there.
Well, thank you very much for having me. First of all, my heart reaches out to the families of those who lost their loved ones in Riom local government, not just Riom, but the whole country were facing these problems that are seemingly intractable. My heart bleeds for Plateau because I think what is happening in Plateau is not something that should be happening now. We must talk truth to ourselves. We must address the problems from the root cause. It is true that there is no organization in this world that do not have bad eggs. I know the military has a system, a robust military justice system that deals with people who compromise. If the governor or the people have any evidence against any of us, once it is forwarded to the GOC, the STF commander, they will be dealt with either summarily of those who can be dealt with, or a court-martial will be convened. I know there is a standing court-martial in the division now that has been trying people and the rest. It is the same people here who will come back and start disturbing us to intervene when they charge some of these soldiers to be tried, that we should help them. And we say, how do you want to help them? You are saying that the people are bad. Let the law take its course. So I think the governor, if he says there are if identified bad eggs, which is everywhere, like I said, even in his government there are bad eggs. If he looks closely, even in our homes, in our families, there are bad eggs. So we must be able to deal with bad eggs as they show or they rear themselves. If they are not correctable, you know where to send them to. The jails, the correctional centers are not established just there as an organization, but there to keep people and correct them. So I really believe that once they are established this thing, they should do. And you know, one thing that bothers me and which we must talk to ourselves too is that these crises are not a continuous thing that every day people are this thing. There's always a trigger. Let's find out those triggers. Let's find out those triggers. What are the triggers that causes people to fight on both sides? Why are people on one side fighting, the other one will fight and retaliate and the rest?
Okay.
Let's find out what those triggers are and address them.
Okay, so we also understand that the killings happened. General Temlong, we also heard that the killings happened despite early warning, because that's part of what the locals claim. So how do we increase response time by the security operatives, most especially when attacks go on in the affected areas?
Well, from what I heard, and in fact it was on the air, was that when that thing happened, the STF responded and repelled the attack, I think about twice. Then they came back in the night. So it's not that there was no early response, there was a response. But what happened at that time is that probably the people went to sleep. I'm not sure, I don't know. But you see, understanding the modus operandi of those who attack us like that, you don't go to sleep. Yes, we were caught in it in the southern zone for a very long time. And I will tell you from experience is that you don't go to sleep. Once they attack you once, twice, you repel them, you must be on your guard. So if you go to sleep, you are courting disaster. And the other aspect is that, you see, the area is so wide that you cannot keep troops in all the locations. So what they need to do, which I have been preaching, is that we must get our communities to survive. Yes, we must get our communities to survive, and that's what I call community resilience. And we have to do it. Let's throw politics away. Let's look at the lives of our citizens.
Okay.
Let's look at Nigeria as a whole and start working towards that. In fact, at the last National Security Seminar in Abuja, we discussed some of these things too. And we believe that if the subnational governments and the local governments are serious, we'll be able to do this thing, to at least reduce this thing to a bare minimum. I'll give you an example. The National Security Advisor gave a lecture at the 50th anniversary of the 18th regular course.
Okay.
That is the course of the Sultan of Sokoto. we were their seniors, so they invited us, some of us, to the 50th anniversary dinner. And the National Security Advisor said that we must use veterans to be able to overcome our security challenges. We know the terrain. We taught these ones, they served under us, and we are back with the citizens, and we know what is going on. It's not the news or it's not what the people in government are hearing. Because if you seclude yourself to your political people, you hear music. You remember that Colonel Langiwa sent a letter to President President Tinubu, accepting his CFR. And he specifically mentioned to the president, say, he should stop listening to sycophants.
Okay.
Every level of governance in this country, there are too many sycophants. And once you listen to one set of music, you don't want to listen to the slow rhythm, you have problems.
So basically, there is so much going on ground in those areas that is outside of what we understand, and employing veterans to deal with these insurgents, who of course know these terrains, would actually be effective in dealing with terrorism and insecurity in those areas. Thank you so much, Brigadier General John Temlong, retired, for sharing your expertise with us on the news.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
And now we tell you that the National Executive Council of the Labour Party says it has ratified the Interim National Working Committee of the party. This was part of the stories that we shared with you earlier. And to give more insights to this, I have our correspondent, Joshua Imarai, who actually covered the event anyway, and will be letting us on what the deliberations were. Thank you so much, Joshua, for joining us. So let's have an understanding of what the Executive Council meeting of the Labour Party discussed and the way forward from here.
Well, good evening to you, Baker. Top of the agenda today at the National Executive Council meeting of the Labour Party was the reaffirmation and the ratification of the Interim National Working Committee. Now, though that committee now has been designated and allocated, and the leadership of the Interim National Committee has already been appointed. And now Senator Leonard Usman will still serve as the Interim National Chairman, while Senator Darlington Wokocha will serve as National Secretary of the Labour Party, pending the time that the new leadership will suffice. However, there are other two agendas today that was actually achieved, and it was the approval of the schedule for party congresses. And of course, you know that before a new leadership can come on board, they have to hold congresses from the world level down to the local government level, and as well as the state level, then moving ahead to the zonal level before they could hold a national convention and elect party leaders. And thirdly, it was the constitution of the committee started with the responsibility of the validation and new registration of members from several parts of the party unit across the country, and they have been mandated, that National Working Committee has been mandated to select these individuals and put a circular out to let the public know who these individuals are and to oversee the entire responsibility so far as concerning the National Working Committee.
So where does this now put the Julius Aburi faction of the party?
Well, today, during the National Executive Council meeting, the Abia State Governor, who was in attendance, actually extended an olive branch to the Julius Aburi-led faction, as well as the Lamidi Apapa faction, telling them that they should come together to work to make the party as viable as it was in the last presidential election. And he also said that if they might have heard, they should just write an apology letter to the party and put him to be forgiven and they'll be washed as white as snow.
All right, so finally, this would mean that the Labour Party is strengthening its structures in Anambra and other regions. So does it mean that with or without Peter Obi within the fold, it is moving on with its political ambitions as a party?
Well, one thing that they harped on particularly at that council meeting was the fact that they were not in talks with anybody to form a coalition And it is obvious that with or without Peter Obi becoming a presidential candidate, I think they will choose a candidate that will be viable in the next presidential election. So with or without Peter Obi, and of course you know that the last time Peter Obi was given an automatic presidential ticket. Why that's not the case this time? Or perhaps maybe the party has other plans to field a presidential candidate for the next general election.
Thank you so much, Joshua Marai, for sharing these news with us. And now we tell you that the member representing Jema and Sanga Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives, Daniel Amos, has criticized attempts by the Kaduna State government at politicizing traditional institutions in the state. Amos, during the presentation of a midterm report on account of stewardship to members of his constituents, expressed concerns that traditional rulers are not allowed to attend functions of opposition politicians, describing the act as worrisome.
Aside the very exalted office of the Honorable Speaker, in the states, I'm sure I have the highest number of political aides. I have, at the last count, more than 200 political aides across the 23 political wards in my federal constituency. I ensure that no political ward has or have minimum of 5 political assistants. So every month I paid about 16 million naira in allowances to my constituents, yes.
From that, chief executives of Nigerian businesses have applauded the federal government's reforms, calling, however, for efforts to ensure the results trickle down to the everyday Nigerian. News Central's business correspondent, Perpetua Fasani-Peter, has the details.
At a forum attended by economists, policy analysts, captains of industry and chief executives of leading Nigerian companies, participants critically reviewed the federal government's reforms, assessing them through 3 key lenses. 1. Are these the right reforms? 2. Are they delivering the desired results? And 3. Have adequate steps been taken to ensure their sustainability?
In answering that first question, are these the right reforms? The answer would be yes. Are the reforms yielding the right results? I think the answer would be yes and no. Maybe for the investment community and for the business community, the answer might be yes. But clearly, for the general population, the answer one invariably hears is no. In answering that question, have we done enough to make the reforms sustainable? My answer would be no. I think we need to do more.
In response, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, represented by a special advisor in the ministry, asked Nigerians to be patient, promising frequent communication and engagement.
Lifting millions out of poverty whilst navigating the global uncertainties that we're facing today, it's not easy. The global rules are shifting. The fundamentals are in a much better position today than they have been for quite a while. The early results, they're visible, but sustaining progress is a deliberate choice. It requires unity amongst us. It requires patience, but we recognize that we need to paint the picture for you to know what you're being patient about. We can't be short-termist in our approach. No resilient, sustainable economy was built by a short-term approach.
To accelerate the impact on the citizens and achieve inclusive growth, participants made the following recommendations.
There's security, which remains a concern. No matter what business or sector you speak to,
ultimately, it's going to benefit the consumer on the streets. But it's always a lag effect. When structural reform happens, there's always a lag effect, and I think the consumer needs to be a lot more patient to see that reform actually trickle down to the bottom.
Look at minimum wage of 70,000 naira. You know, add depreciation, add inflation, the real value of the 70,000 naira is about maybe 42,000 naira. So these are the dynamics that must shift. But for this dynamic to shift, three things must happen. One, expansive investment, led by private sector-led investments, supported by incentives from government to open up sectors that private capital can go into. Number two is government spending. We must see fiscal spending grow. You must grow your exports, especially your non-oil export earnings, so that your revenue model of the country grows. That's how GDP growth rate of 7% is possible.
Although early signs of economic growth are visible, the success of these reforms ultimately depends on their consistent consolidation. By implementing these policies that vigorously support production and stimulate consumer spending, the government can turn the promise of reforms to recovery into a lived reality for Nigerians. In Lagos, for News Central, I am Perpetua Fasumi Peter.
Coming up on the news, Guinea reports more than 200 Mpox cases since first detection. We'll tell you more and bring you more stories in a bit. Do stay with us. We tell you that the number of Mpox cases in Guinea since an outbreak was first detected has passed 200. Last month, World Health Organization Director Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said the virus remains an international health emergency amid the rise in West Africa. Guinea has now recorded 206 total cases. The outbreak, which began last September, includes 1 death and 77 hospitalizations. Mpox is caused by a virus from the same family as smallpox. It can be transmitted to humans by infected animals, but can also be passed between people through close physical contact. Outside of the African continent, the European Union has approved a new package of sanctions against Russia, marking the 18th round of economic measures since the start of the war in Ukraine in 2022. This latest package includes a reduction in the price cap on Russian exports to countries outside the bloc, now set at 15%, anyway, below global market value. The sanctions were passed after Slovakia lifted its veto following negotiations with Brussels over a separate agreement to gradually phase out Russian gas imports by the year 2027. The measures aim to further restrict Russia's financial capacity to sustain its military efforts. EU officials say the move underscores their continued commitment to supporting Ukraine and maintaining pressure on Moscow to end its aggression. We tell you that Nigeria's Super Falcons are on course for a semi-final berth at the 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations after a dominant 4-0 lead against Zambia. Osinachi Hale opened the scoring with Esther Koronkwo doubling the goal. Yezor with a cool finish wrapped up a comfortable scoreline in the first half. Defender Oluwatosin Deme added a powerful header early in the second half to cap what has been a commanding display. The emphatic performance offers a timely response to recent criticism from fans and pressure on head coach Justin Madugu. If Nigeria seal the win, they will face the winner of the Senegal versus South Africa clash in the semi-finals. And that's all on the news at this hour, but then we look at our major stories before we go. President Tinubu has paid condolence visits to the family of late elder statesman Aminu Dantata. Federal High Court in Abuja has adjourned ruling on the no-case submission filed by the legal team of Nnamdi Kanu. We also told you that Guinea has reported more than 200 Mpox cases since first detection. Do send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen, and you can follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. Also, watch us live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times 274, including Avro TV and YouTube.